Good morning and a warm welcome to all of you who've managed to join our session today. We are happy to take you through the session on budgeting and strategy checkpoint. My name is Kenon Bae, your Chief Value Officer, and I'll be happy to take you through this session. When we hear strategy, what comes to mind? So on your screen, you must you're seeing a number of brands which you might have interacted with at different times. So looking at all the brands on our screen today, what would you say about these people when you look at them? So the way we are going to do it, you're free to either put it on the chat or you're free to say it in the microphone, is pick any of the brands and tell us what comes to mind when you see or hear these people. What do you feel? What are they known for? So you're free to pick any of these brands here and make a comment. I see Jane Wagema, please go.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mbai. Actually, when I looked at this picture, everything I've interacted with, practically everything, but the one that stands out for me is that chess. Because the other day, when my children were over and over Christmas, we decided to play chess, and I realized I had not taken much or keen interest in chess. I could play Monopoly and all, but I realized how much of a strategy one really must strategize to win in this game. Absolutely. And it's something I decided I'm just going to be on it. Thank you very much.
Thanks for that, Jane. That the strategy actually in itself is all planning, is all trying to think what your opponent is trying to do. How do you counter that? I'm also a chess player. I'll take you up on one game soon, Jane, and see who beats the other. But thanks for that. Okay. Anybody else? When you see, I see Anne Gashomo on the chat is talking about Strathmore and quality education. So when Agatha sees Strathmore, she feels what comes to her mind is quality education. Thank you, Agatha. Isaiah Mogambi on the chat, you're talking about Uber. When you see Uber, what you see is building a business empire without much physical capital. That's what you see under Uber. These responses are great. And Isaiah has a comment on Safaricom. When Isaiah sees that brand, Safaricom, what he thinks consistent innovation that fights competition. I can tell you so far we have cracked 50% of what strategy is. By just the responses that are coming, the thoughts that we're hearing, we've covered more than 50%. And this really is the heart of our presentation today. Putting all that together then, what is strategy? So I have only 2 slides that talks about theory. After that, we'll be talking about practical matters, but it's important for us to be like on the same page officially, then what is strategy? A number of people have come out in the past to try to define it, and Michael Porter is a known person in strategy matters. He talks about competitive strategy as being different, deliberately choosing a set of activities to deliver a unique mix of value. And that's what it is. If you think about the brands that we just saw, Uber has taken a deliberate choice. They're taking a set of activities and they're delivering value in a way only Uber can deliver, or Safaricom, or Strathmore, or even our own enterprises. Because again, the main purpose of this session is we will move it from the Ubers of this world and we'll bring it to our own companies. A set of scholars also in 2014 talked about strategy being having 3 things: the fundamental goals of the company, what are you here to do? The scope of its activities, what do you choose to do? And lastly, your competitive advantages. How are you doing it different from everybody else? So putting this together, maybe for the purpose of this session, then we can agree that strategy in general is a long-term direction an organization takes, the long-term direction of organization. Largely speaking, in the next 3 to 5 years, where are you headed? That would be strategy. The slide here talks about the components of strategy. Again, you can break strategy into 3. The first section is the strategic position. What environment are you operating in? Are you in the engineering sector like Isaiah? Are you in the legal sector like Sam? Jane is in the e-commerce space. Ndunga is a financial advisor. Isaac works for Prudential. All these is the position you've taken. And most probably by the time all of us are coming here, we already have taken a strategic position. We know the environment we are in. We know why we are there. And that is one big part of strategy. And you notice most times people are clear about that. The second part of the model is the strategic choices that you take. Here we are talking about the direction you're taking and the methods that you're using to deliver on that. Here we're talking about what is your unique value proposition. When you come to market, what are you coming to give people uniquely? What differentiates you? What is your unfair advantage? Why is it that we will come to Mwalimu Biashara and not go to any other consultant? That is business strategy. There you also talk about what products do you bring in? What geographical markets do you serve? Do you have branches in the counties? Further on, you can even decide, are you going to go international? Are you going to go local? Then you also talk about how you innovate. What is innovation strategy? We've heard about Safaricom. They are known for being innovative in a way that beats competition. That is a strategic choice that Safaricom has taken. That by the time you get to 3G, they are already on 4G. When you get to 4G, they are doing something different. That is a choice and the direction they've taken. And lastly, we're talking about acquisition and are you going to acquire companies? Are you going to go on your own? The third section is strategy in action. And I think for us here at Mwalimu Biashara, this is our focus. Yes, we help clients do the entire strategy. And as you see, even as we move on with the presentation, strategy in action is a formulation and the implementation. And this really is where the rubber meets the road. How are you going to move on with your strategy? You see, most of the time, as an example, you might come in deciding to do one thing, but then when you go to the market, you get to do something different. I'll give you an example. The other day, I was driving and I saw a billboard. Now, this billboard is by a company called Glovo. We must know Glovo, the people who help deliver food and other things to us. They came in and they really advertised a lot. And we knew Glovo as a company that helps deliver food or deliver packages or do something. But on this billboard, they were advertising that they can help you save on parking fees. So it intrigued me, how would Glovo help me save on parking fees? Of course, they go ahead and the reason they say, the fact that you're not going to drive to the mall to get whatever you need, it means you don't need the parking. It means you can save the parking on the parking fees and use that money to pay for them to deliver the stuff to you. That is quite interesting because Glovo went out to deliver food, but they saw another opportunity, what we call emerging strategy. They saw we can actually get into the space of parking. Now think about the people who do parking. Caps are people who do parking. They would never think a competitor would come in the name of Glovo. And now, so that's the thing, when you go into strategy in action, many things happen. Again, when you're in the strategy in action, we all are familiar with what has happened with the COVID situation. This is something, but most probably no one had foreseen it. So of all the strategies that we had written, no one had envisioned COVID. Again, when you come to strategy in action, a lot of things come into play. You probably are familiar with this acronym VUCA, V-U-C-A, where things are very volatile, things are uncertain, they are complex in terms of interactions and in terms of the relationships that businesses have, and most times things are ambiguous. So in this session, we'll tell you to draw a 3-year strategy or a 5-year strategy, which is okay. However, remember, things are changing very fast. I mean, we can't afford to have a strategy which we write and we don't keep looking at every so often. So when we come to strategy in practice, that is what we look at. You look at your people, you look at who's going to do the work, you look at what system do you have in place, and that describes the strategy model. So those are the 3 makeup of strategy: the strategic position that you take, the strategic choices that you decide to undertake, and how do you actually get to do your strategy. That's it about theory. I can promise you the rest will be all practical. So a few thoughts come to mind. And remember, we are now on the third section, strategy in action. Think about this, that 80% of companies have the right strategies. However, only 14% of them implement them well. This was a study done in 2010. So we start seeing why strategy implementation becomes quite interesting. Strategies are there. It is the implementation that is a problem. A similar study was done that put the real success rate of strategy execution lies between 10% and 30%. That is to say, of every 10 companies, only 3 will implement their strategies well. Could even be less than 3. These thoughts got me quite interested in the topic of strategy implementation, and we distilled the reasons why we have low strategy implementation is either the structure that we have, the systems we have in place, the people, or the alignment. And the remaining part of this presentation on strategy will actually zero down on these 4 things: the structure, the systems, the people, and the alignment. So I'd like to invite us to watch a video clip that will help us unpack this a little bit more. Yeah, but before that, I will tell you a story. In the morning, every morning, I drop my daughter to school. So we've established this system where we know what time we leave for us not to get late for school. One morning, we were a bit late. I can't remember the exact reason, but we found ourselves late. We were all trying to hurry up. Time was very short. So I walked out ahead of my daughter and went to the car. When I got to the car, guess what I saw? I had a flat tire. And I was thinking, no, God, not today. I can have a flat tire any other day, but not today when I'm late. But there it was. So in my mind, I started thinking, how do I solve this problem? Do I get help? Is my jack going to work well? What do I do? Do I call the school and say we're going to get late? But as all these things are happening, I quickly, of course, started changing the tire. And as I'm putting up the jack and I'm working at full speed, full efficiency, because things are not working well, I go ahead, shortly the one of the tires down, so I'm replacing the other one. I glance at my daughter, she's not happy at all. She's getting jittery and she can't see what the issue is, we are getting late. So I'm putting all the effort and I finished changing the tire. I glanced at my watch, I realized I've taken about 20 minutes doing that. The clip that we're about to share is about a group of people who have managed to perfect the art of changing tires. And so they can change a tire in less than 4 seconds. Now, they not only change one tire, they actually change 4 tires within the 4 seconds, and they do a little bit more. So let's take a look at this. We're going to play it once. I'd like you to make as much observations as you can. Look closely at the entire clip from start to finish and take in as much as possible. Note as much as possible, because every single thing here speaks a lot around strategy implementation. Let's watch it, please. All right. So I believe you've taken some detail. So let's probably hear 1 or 2 answers. What did you observe in that entire clip? You can put it on the chat, or you can speak in the mic. What did we see there?
Can I go?
Yeah, yes, please go.
I noticed, just like you said earlier, they have the right structure,
Okay.
the right people who know what they're doing.
Yes.
And then all these people, they're all aligned, just like you said, there's a certain form of alignment.
Yes.
And they have the system in place. So everybody knows, they're all working in sync with each other, and everybody is concentrated on what they are supposed to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And timely.
Very timely. I agree. I totally agree with you. Thanks for that. I see a few more responses coming on chat. Maybe Melissa, you can help with those as they come in the chat.
Yes. So we have SK Wawero says people ready to do their bit. He sees people ready to do their bit. Then Aizo says everyone was in position and in readiness. Isaiah sees a ready team and technology utilization. And then Flo's big word is coordination. And Isaiah Mugambi again speaks about timeliness.
We've already made quite many observations on this clip, but this will form the basis of what we are going to finally take home with us. Remember, we've said the drivers of strategy implementation is either the structure that you have, the systems you have in place, your people, and your alignment. I'm going to ask this in terms of questions. This is when the action is happening, and we'll keep referring to this clip over and over. But let's talk about structure. Structure means the lines of authority and the reporting lines. How do you organize yourself? Let me ask us a few questions. Now, this is a company that is specializing in changing tires and in racing. Where do we think the CEO of this organization was when this was happening? In those 4 seconds, where was the CEO of this organization? Most probably, he was nowhere near this operation. Probably he wasn't even somewhere playing golf or doing a business meeting. And that's the heart of structure. We organize ourselves such that we know who needs to do what. You have a working system, and that's one key thing around structure in strategy implementation. Then how are things flowing so well? This is a dangerous thing. Accidents can happen anytime. The second thing around structure is that jobs are grouped in a logical fashion. There is what starts, what follows, what can be done simultaneously, who needs to wait, who needs to do what. You get your jobs arranged in a logical fashion. So that means your structures are working for you. If you look at this clip again and focus on this gentleman, sorry, let me just take you to this gentleman here. This gentleman here, if you look at what he's doing, he's focusing on holding down the car. He's just holding the car. If you look at his foot is very close to the other gentleman who is ready to change the tire. It would be a disaster if the foot got in the way of the other guy, because he will be hit by the tire. So in terms of structure, it means that every manager has their span of control. You decide, this is my space, I need to do this work and do it very well. Maybe the final thought around structure here is, in those 4 minutes that the tires are being changed and many things are happening, did we see people talking to each other? Songa songa kidogo, no, let me do this, you're in my way. That did not happen. And that's because in this operation, they have processes, procedures, and policies in place. And they've rehearsed those over time. Everybody knows what they need to do. And that's the last thought around structure. So moving on to the second item on structure and implementation. And by the way, if you have any questions, you can always feel free to put them in the chat, or we'll have a section of question and answers. So let's just take it in so that we can get the basics first, and then you can go to questions. The second strategy implementation driver is systems. This is how do we translate our strategic into the everyday. Still going back to our picture here, you notice there are a number of systems here. One, if you look at where that car is stopping, it is stopping at a very precise place. In fact, the road is marked for the driver. That is a system in itself, that he knows that this marking means I come up to here and I stop precisely there. The people changing the tire, that's another system independent of everything. If you have time, you can always go back and check more details about this. It's quite an interesting operation. But the people changing the tire are 3 of them. That's a system working. The first person has a jack, which he opens. The second person removes the tire. The third person puts in back the tire. That is a system on its own. And even in our own organizations, you realize that we have our own systems. So the third item around strategy, and I know I'm just giving you the details, and we can talk a little bit more even on the chat or anything else we pick, is around the people. And the question becomes, who will get the job done and how will they go about it? So let me take us back here and ask us something. Do you think these people have overstaffing? Are they overstaffed? What do we think? These are about 24 people. Do you think they're overstaffed? What's our feeling? Or what comes to mind? 24 people. Is it too much? Is it too little?
We have 2 responses from the chat, Canon.
Yes.
Jane says no, because they are all specialized. each one has something specific to do. ISO says, I think a similar point, every hand is needed. And then Anne says, interesting, they look many.
True.
And Flo says, no, they are not overstaffed. And it says, no, everyone is busy in their space.
Great, those are great responses. And how do we apply this in our own organizations? Many times you hear people saying, I don't want to employ many people. And while that is true, in as much as saving on costs, you employ people based on how useful they are, because you have to get people, specialized people, to do what needs to be done. And those are great responses there. Now, in Formula One racing, this driver approaches the pit stop at about 80 kilometers per hour. That is the slowest he has ever driven in that entire race. But think about this Jackman, this gentleman in front. He is standing in the way of danger. So why would he even risk his life? Everybody is so aligned. Everybody is waiting to pull in a certain direction and do their work despite the risks. That speaks to leadership and motivation. There must be something pulling them so well and so hard that they know we are sold into this and we want to do it. And that's a very important part of people. Just out of interest, the gentleman, there are two people here at the end. If you see these people here, they just seem to be observing. Are they doing anything? Are these people helping? Should we fire them? What do we think? And that's it. Their role does not seem very obvious, but they're playing a very important role. This first gentleman here, his role is to ensure that everybody is ready, has finished their work, and he can now release the vehicle to move. When the driver gets to the pit stop, all he does is he focuses on the traffic lights. So the traffic light is red. It would mean that everything is not ready. Once everybody finishes, this gentleman changes it from red to green, and that's all the driver needs to see. He moves. That in strategy and in organizations where people are concerned, it's all about decision making. People at various levels have to make decisions, but they have to make the right decisions. That is what makes your strategy work. And of course, you have to trust people. I remember I saw a comment on the chat. There are trust levels. You have to trust the people you're working with. You have to trust that they know what they're going to do and they will do it. Of course, if they don't, there are always ways of managing that. But a critical ingredient around strategy and people is trust. Maybe I can engage us with a final question on people. And here, maybe I can invite us to put our comments on the chat or even answer on the mic. Now, notice what would happen if we decided to take this front jackman and exchange them with the person who's changing this wheel. We tell them just before the operation starts, we say, okay, fine, we want to make a few changes in our team. You jackman person, we want you to come and change this tire, and the tire person go and manage the jack. What do you think could have happened, or what do you envision that would have resulted to?
Jane says, chaos. Chaos will manifest. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Okay. Agatha says they probably have slowed down. Probably that will slow them down. And Isaiah, confusion.
Okay. I think those are very good answers. And they speak very closely to a very important part of strategy implementation where people are concerned. it is important that our people have the right implementation tactics. When you're getting your team together and you're putting your people together, and even sometimes when you're a single person running your own organization, the various tactics that you employ, it's important that you sharpen those tactics such that you're very good at what you do. Probably you may not be able to do something different, and some organizations sometimes go into outsourcing. They decide, I am not good at this, let me get someone who can help me do this very well. It's an important part. Okay. So lastly, we've spoken about structure, we've spoken about systems, we've tackled people. Lastly, let's look at alignment. Alignment is all about allocating resources to support your strategic goals. And going back to our illustration here, let's see what we can pick around alignment. A few thoughts that come around alignment. Each company, just for us to be focused, their main goal is to win a race. Okay? Their main goal is to win a race. That's all they want. So everything that should be happening towards supporting them win a race. Now, there are very many companies go into this. We have Mercedes, Renault, Red Bull, very many teams go into this. One thing about alignment is the people behind every operation, they provide all that is required to make sure the operation works. And back to our own organizations, alignment means if we are in the business of, like, someone who's a lawyer, some is in the legal profession. When he goes out to work out his law firm, is doing litigation, is doing debt collection, he ensures that the very important things are taken care of. Maybe one thing is to ensure that he's very well informed about the cases that are going on, how to interpret them, the case studies that have happened in the past. That is a cutting edge for Sam and his business. So whatever happens, Sam ensures that all the resources are aligned to support that because it means a lot to his business. As an example, so alignment means you provide people, you provide resources, you provide money to ensure things are working. Now, you might be in a situation where your organization is going through a recession, maybe the things are down, but it's important to know there are some things that can't stop. Let's take an example of Jane, who is in the e-commerce space. Whatever happens in the economy today, Jane cannot afford to miss internet access. She had rather not pay any other bill, but ensure she has internet access, because internet access is critical in the e-commerce business. And that's what alignment is. You ensure that the very important things are taken care of, that you're equipped to be sure that what is important is working. And all examples we can give in our own organizations, in our various spaces. So in summary, as we end this session, the things that make strategy work or not work is structure, which is authority and reporting lines, systems, how we translate our strategic into the everyday, the people, who gets the job done and how will they go about it, and lastly, alignment. That is, how do we allocate resources to support our strategic goals? So friends, thank you very much for that session. I think that concludes the first session on strategy, especially strategy implementation. So lastly, I'll take the next few minutes or so to just talk about Mwalimu Biashara. Mwalimu Biashara was set up about 6 years ago. The idea was to provide management consulting services for SMEs in our region, and that has come up well. We are happy about how it has come up. Our focus areas are in business planning. This is where we help new businesses make their business plans. And I think a question like that came from Isaiah, where he talked about how can a new business understand its revenues without any prior experience. So that's our entire focus area, not only for new businesses, even for existing businesses that want to venture out into new products or new geographical areas. That is an area that we are comfortable, and we are ready, and we have what it takes to help you plan for new ventures that way. Second one is on strategy formulation and implementation. This is basically what we have centered on today. We picked this as one of the areas we wanted to open it up, and I think the presentation is well explanatory. So we can sit with the organization. First, we can help you formulate a strategy, or if you have an existing one, we can help you improve it. And then also we can handhold you to implement it. The ideal thing we do is that we sit with the organization for a period of, say, 3 to 6 months, where we help your team understand, absorb what strategy is, change the right cultures, and have everybody pointing the right direction. Then we leave it up with you and your team to take it over, because again, it's a long-term document. We do financial modeling, business planning, and management. This is where we help you link all the figures. The question that has come around accounting skills, this is where it sits. We have set up a whole accounting back office, which can give our clients. If you want to automate your accounting processes, we are able to automate your functions. We're able to give you an accounting software, and we've gone to the market and identified the good ones that can suit various businesses. Some of them, you'll be surprised, are available for a very, very low amount, but that's something we do. And after that, we help you plan for the future. You do your forecasting, your projects. It's something we do under financial planning and management. Personal finance coaching is something that's coming up for us, and we are happy to tell our clients we do this. This is where we sit with you at a personal level. After you make all this money you've made from your business or from your employment or from other places, how do you manage your personal finances, your debt levels? How do you manage debt? Is debt a good thing or a bad thing? People talk about estate planning. How can I plan for the future? Should I invest in treasury bills, or should I be able to give my friend who wants to start off a car wash business? All that is under personal finance coaching. It's a whole different thing. If you check our website, you can always register with us for a session. We give you the first session for free, because at Mwalimu Biashara, we are interested in developing people. So we help you understand where you are at and determine where you can go from there. We've teamed up with other consultants who help us help the whole structure around human resource management and operations strategy. Our delivery structure is both in-house or open forums or group trainings like we have. But this last slide, why should you consider working with Mwalimu Biashara? It's because we have already established our niche. We know that most organizations have the right strategies, but the issue for you to stand out is how well you implement it. And that is our strength. We have carved out a niche that helps organizations put in place financial plans. And most importantly, you can execute them practically in your business. Our commitment is that for every session you have with Mwalimu Biashara, you leave with a practical explanation, practical application for your business. We can sit with you one-on-one and make this practical for your business. We've developed tools, tactics. I've already talked about an accounting system. I've talked about many tools we can give you, and they're very easy to use, so that you always live with something that you're going to use for yourself and your business. Lastly, I'll leave out our contacts. This is how to reach us. You can either send us an email, you can call us on that number, or you're free to go through our website and see more about us.